joining us, Brian.
Pleasure to be here.
And shortly here, when the technical difficulties get resolved, we'll have Supervisor Randy Ramey on from Wayne Township. So, and if you're on the webinar or call here and you have a question at any time, there's a few different ways that you can interact. You can put in a chat with your questions and we'll be able to see those. You can also raise your hand and our faithful IT steward from the village will be able to unmute you. But to start it off, we will go through some basic questions that we received and some general questions that we've gotten both at the village and most likely at the townships. And I will just ask for some input from not only Village Administrator Paula Schumacher is with us, and James Barr, the Hanover Township Administrator is with us as well. So we'll kind of round robin any of these questions and try to identify who's best to answer them. Let's give Randy a couple more minutes here. I was sharing with the rest of the folks on the call here. I think we've participated as a village. I've been on dozens of these, and I don't think that there were too many of them where we don't have some kind of a missed link somewhere where somebody can't get on. But we can certainly go through and start the questions now. We have a few that we have had input on. One of the questions that originally came up here were, what cooperative efforts are the village, townships, and senior living facilities taking in response to COVID-19 pandemic? I think, Madam Administrator, I think that would be a great one for you to start, and then I'm sure we can have maybe Mr. Supervisor McGuire chime in as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to. The local taxing districts, the townships, the park districts, library, police and fire, we have a bi-weekly call that we do just like this to talk about issues that we're experiencing, questions that we're getting, things that are happening out in the community and how we're responding to them. And then we also have the police and fire have a call every Wednesday with the school district management as well, so that we're keeping the school district in that loop. I will ask the township to talk about what they're doing in terms of outreach. It's pretty extensive. And in addition to the senior care facilities specifically, police and fire also have a weekly call with the management of our assisted living and senior living facilities in town. So with that, I'll turn it over to Hanover.
Thank you, Paula. You know, our Director of Aging Services, Tracy Colagrossi, has been in touch with the various senior facilities to see what they need. We have also been doing an outreach to seniors that we call them well-being calls. Just about 3,000 calls have been made on a regular basis by staff and volunteers to check up on folks who may not have family readily accessible to them, to check in, see if they need anything. Do they need groceries delivered? Are they having any health concerns? Things like that. And then Mike Cruz, our Director of Emergency Services, has been in touch with all of the primary police, fire, and sheriff's departments, as well as some of the senior care facilities within the township to see what their needs are and see how we can best help.
I know I remember speaking with James Barr in regards to the number of calls that you're making. I can't remember the number, but it was pretty a pretty large number of calls that are going out directly at wellness calls, right?
Correct. Just over 3,000.
Wow, that's impressive. Nice. Again, if you're just joining us, if you do have questions or comments, there is a chat function on here that all the participants, the panel can see, and we'll field those as they come along. Unfortunately, I think our Wayne Township Supervisors had some technical issues with trying to jump on, but we'll move on in light of the amount of time that we want to spend here.
Mayor, there is a question that we received that is specific to Hanover Township, in particular with the lending closet. If the question was, do residents still have access to medical equipment through the lending closet?
Okay.
Sure, happy to address that. As a matter of fact, they do. They can call our Senior Services Department and make an appointment to come in or drop into the Senior Center. But the lending closet is open. As a matter of fact, most all of the services provided by Hanover Township are still being provided to the residents, though some of them may have gone virtual. But the programming that's been canceled by Hanover Township has been group programming, large gatherings, one-on-one face-to-face appointments have been severely limited and taken on a case-by-case basis. But our senior outreach workers in social services continue to meet with people virtually, as do our youth and family service therapists. So we've adjusted, as I'm sure all local government has, but just about all of the services that one would normally get from the township, you can still access. But the lending closet is still lending equipment.
That's fantastic news.
Mr. Barr?
Yeah.
I'd also throw in that there's no residency requirement on the lending closet. So a resident from anywhere within Bartlett or the surrounding area can access the lending closet. And that's open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 at the Senior Center.
Okay. John, I know that you're muted, our IT specialist. If you wouldn't mind texting me some number that I can text you for Supervisor Ramey, I can have you call his cell phone. So if you can text me a cell number for you, John, and then I'll have you text, I'll text you Randy's cell number. All right, another question that came up. How is the townships, are the township food, I think Supervisor McGuire already answered a little bit of this, but are the township food pantries still available for residents that might need access to food or senior meal delivery? And can people still make donations to food pantries?
Well, I'm pleased to say on all three questions, the answer is yes. As a matter of fact, our food pantry has seen just under 1,000 residents since March 17th, when we've kind of, this all kind of took off, and when we start counting numbers for it, and 200 alone this week have visited the food pantry. We've also done over 100 home deliveries from the food pantry for folks who, for whatever reason, can't get to the food pantry. And then our home delivered meals for our seniors have continued. We've done over 1,700 home delivered meals since the COVID outbreak began. And we've also done another 727 curbside pickup meals for seniors that would normally be participating in our congregate meal program that takes place at the township each day. And I will say this, the food pantry is accepting donations. Those donations can be dropped off at the food pantry in Hanover Park on Astor Avenue, or at our town hall, or our senior center, which are both located in Bartlett on 59. Fantastic.
Any special requirements on food pantry items? I know that the Bartlett Police Department and the Bartlett Fire Department have been pretty precautious about accepting even donated meals and stuff. And for those of you that would wish to do that, I know that there's some other restaurants and stuff that have been attempting to do that. And just as a precautionary measure, they're not gathering in groups, so they couldn't have a meal on Easter, but a couple of restaurants wanted to provide that. Are there any tips or highlights of precautionary things when you're donating food that people should know?
Well, one of the things that folks can do, because I know folks are concerned about contact with other people, is you can leave those donations outside the door of those locations. And we are looking for paper products, canned goods, pastas, jarred sauces for the pasta. All the donations we would normally seek we're still in need of. Just that the demand has gone very high recently, and we expect that demand to continue to rise as folks deal with trying to make ends meet. As many people, as you know, have been forced into unemployment by this sheltering in place.
Yeah.
All of our folks are in masks and gloves at the pantry. And then anybody you would meet at a reception desk in the township would also be masked as well.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to speak too much for Wayne Township, but on our call this morning with them, Supervisor Ramey did say that the Wayne Township is doing drive-up deliveries. They are taking donations, and again, they are also in masks and gloves for those deliveries.
Okay.
And that's a good point. The one thing we have changed as part of our operations at the food pantry in Hanover is that we've gone to a pickup service. We ask that residents either call or email us. There's a shopping list they can download online and fill out, or if they arrive there, they'll be given it, but it works much better if you can do it ahead of time. That order will be filled, and that those food items that you request will be brought to your vehicle, again, limiting the contact that people have to interact with and allowing for as much precaution as we can have.
Fantastic. Another question that came up was, how is staff? You've already answered this. Township staff keeping in contact with senior populations you serve, and I think the wellness calls was the answer to that. There's been a lot of wellness calls, a lot of reaching out instead of expecting people to reach out to the township. It sounds like both townships are. I know Wayne Township, I'd spoke to them earlier too, and they are doing the same wellness calls. One of the really important topics, I think, these days is mental health services. I know it's, if people have a mild amount of anxiety, this is the time when that can really escalate. So is there any other additional mental health services that residents can access in township services?
Sure. Residents are certainly able to access our family therapy through our Youth and Family Services Department. Again, those therapy sessions, while they have switched to a virtual therapy session over the phone, and as a matter of fact, 100 of those have been conducted so far during this process. They can continue to access that service. And then the township funds, through our township mental health program, about 30 different mental health agencies. And our mental health staff, our mental health board staff, is happy to make any referrals to those agencies that we fund. And it really covers the gamut of substance abuse and mental health issues. And anyone that's having any anxiety or thinking that they'd like to talk to somebody, a call to the township at 630-837-0301. The mental health board will make a referral to an agency based on their needs.
Fantastic. That's good information. You may have touched on this with the existing continuation of services, but there's a question here about our township transportation services still available to the residents?
They are in a limited format. One of the first things we did was we limited those rides now to dialysis and medical appointments. Again, we've done about 200 rides since we've gone into the shelter-in-place mode. And then each ride, our drivers are all in personal protective equipment, as is the riders are asked to wear a mask and gloves. And then the bus is wiped down, in between each ride, and rides are just being given. There's no pooling of folks. In this case, it is door-to-door service in order to maintain that service, but do it in the safest manner possible.
Gotcha. Here's a question that's new to me that I hadn't seen before. Might be for Mr. Barr, possibly. Can residents continue to contact the assessor's office to request property tax freeze / exemptions that normally happen this time of year?
Yes, if they want to call the township offices, what we're doing is having our assessors work remotely from their homes, and we'll collect their information, whether it's a phone number, any information they have available, or if they prefer email, and we'll have somebody with our assessor's office staff follow up directly with them.
Yeah, and I would encourage everybody in Hanover Township that those exemptions, the deadline for that is April 10th. So please reach out today or on Monday because that deadline is approaching very quickly in Cook County.
I think that, yeah, it was today, right? April 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Looks like shortly here we'll welcome Supervisor Ramey from Wayne Township, chiming in. While we're waiting for him, we'll take a question that was sent in via chat regarding garbage pickup. I know this was a topic for many villages. I'm on with 300 or so mayors just a couple of times a week. And they're asking, is Groot still limiting the amount and types of items that can be picked up for placed for pickup? And will we be seeing any reduced rates due to the limited service? I can tell you that we spoke about that at our board meeting on Tuesday. Staff is looking into contacting Groot about workarounds. I believe it's most important for the safety of those trash collectors to not be handling, refrigerators that may have been contaminated or boxes that aren't in the tote. Another question that came up when we were talking about this is if they could request an additional tote, because now obviously there are a lot of people at home and they're creating, I know my household is creating a lot more trash than typical. So it is becoming an issue, and it will become an issue. So I would just suggest that that we will be reaching out before the next board meeting, most likely. Would you say, Paula?
Yeah, I would. We're in continual contact with Groot in terms of the services that they're providing. Again, it's a safety issue in terms of just hauling, like the things that they can't pick up with the armature on the truck. And there will be some things that they're looking at in terms of recycling. And of course, yard waste season is upon us. So we're looking at all of those things. And then if there is a significant reduction in the services that they're providing, we'll be asking for a credit to go for them to implement that.
Yeah, I think the suggestion is if it's possible in your situation to set those things aside for right now, and then once the shelter in place expiration comes upon us, then you'll be able to load the curb with as much stuff as you've attempted to keep aside from the trash for right now, and then they'll sweep in and pick it all up. But we'll keep everyone informed as to what we're what our plans are. I know we're working with Groot. After our board meeting, there were some conversations with them. They're getting the same conversations as every other trash hauler that I know of in order to come up with a solution for that. Another question that we popped up into the chat. There's a resident in Victory Center, assisted living. She received an email that one of the team members had contracted COVID-19 and quarantined. Have there been any new cases reported? That would most likely go through the fire department. Paula, are you aware, or the police department, are you aware of any new cases at Victory Center?
As with my phone calls this afternoon with the police and the fire, they had not mentioned anything like that. We don't normally get numbers like that. It usually is for folks who are responding to those facilities. I just want to circle back to the garbage question. Residents can still put out bags to the curb, just no white goods, but bags under 50 pounds will be taken.
Okay, so that is actually that's a better answer than we had on Tuesday. So thank you for that. I just got a note from the Wayne Township Assessor Mike Musson. Wayne Township Assessor staff are all working remotely from home. Calls are being forwarded to several staff members. Cell phones are being answered during regular business hours. For Wayne Township, the senior citizens assessment freeze applications have not been mailed out yet, and they won't be mailed out until after the shelter order is lifted. The application for deadline for DuPage County is October 1st, but will be accepted beyond that deadline. So that's a note from the Wayne Township Assessor. Thank you for putting that in there, Mike. Musson, the Wayne Township Tax Assessor. That's the questions from Wayne Township and Hanover Township that I have. Let me review these. Supervisor Ramey, are you available? Are you on now? I guess not. His name is showing up here, but he's not on. Is there any other services that the townships are providing that may be of interest to residents that we haven't mentioned?
Sure, I'll take that and then let James help me out on whatever I leave off. But Hanover Township, our Veterans Affairs advocate continues to meet with veterans who are filing claims with the VA in attempts to get their benefits they're owed. She's done about 25 appointments since being in shelter. And so that continues to go on. And I will share a positive story in this time of uncertainty for everybody, but our Veterans Affairs advocate notified the board just recently that a resident she was working with through her efforts in working with the VA was able to secure a pension for the veteran that they had been entitled to, and they got a very large lump sum payment for back benefits, and will continue to receive a monthly pension now because of the disability that individual received in service to the country. So we certainly like to mention that and celebrate that. Also, our community health department, our nurses are still seeing people. They're still making home visits as well as doing phone consultations over the phone. And our emergency services department switched to a 24-hour staffing model when this, effective March 17th, which is when the township declared a local emergency. And they've put over 2,000 hours of volunteer hours since then, and they have responded to over a dozen requests from local first responders for assistance. So as I said, things in Hanover Township continue to move just as they always have, just modified for these interesting times. James, did I leave any department out?
Well, I'll add just a couple of more that were kind of touched on. In our aging services area, we still have caseworkers working remotely with seniors that may have a variety of needs, from navigating Medicare or Social Security to qualifying for different aid programs. There's also therapists on staff in aging services. So if there's a senior that's, and there's a big concern out there that a lot of our seniors are particularly isolated. So if they wanted to talk to a therapist, we have therapists available through the Aging Services Department. Human Services that operates our food pantry. I did want to mention the specific food pantry hours. The food pantry for Hanover is open 6 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the pantry is open 11 to 3. On Tuesdays, it's open from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. so that there's a lot of different times there folks need it. Also, is unfortunately a lot of our neighbors are experiencing financial hardship. Maybe they've become unemployed. We certainly, as a first mechanism, encourage them to contact Illinois Department of Employment Security to request unemployment. We know there's been a big backlog there, but it's important to start there. However, our Human Services Department is available to talk with them. There's other forms of assistance individuals, depending on their circumstances, may qualify for. So we'd encourage them to just call the Township's Department of Human Services. That phone number, they can call our main number, but the direct number to our Astor Avenue Community Center, where Human Services is located, is 630-540-9085, and a case manager would be able to work with them to try to resolve their challenges.
Mayor, I do want to share with everybody a couple other things the Human Services Department has done is we've increased our general assistance grant to the maximum amount allowed, which is $750 for the average grantee. And then we also operate a program called Emergency Assistance in Hanover Township. This is an optional program that townships can opt to provide. Traditionally, you've been able to apply for that program once every 18 months. Again, we've dropped that to the lowest time frame allowed by state statute, which is every 12 months. And we also increased the income guidelines to up to 200% of poverty for people to qualify for that program. And then Hanover Township also administers the Salvation Army Emergency Grant Program for the township area. And so there are a lot of financial programs that the township caseworkers can tap into for residents that are having financial difficulty. So if you're finding yourself in difficulty, as James said, certainly reach out to our Human Services Department, and they can, if not us, we can certainly help guide you to where you need to be.
Yeah, that's really, really good information. James, if you wouldn't mind, I'm sure some of the people that are on the call have other folks too that they could share that with, but if you want to restate that number that they can dial in, that would be great for
Certainly.
Human Services.
Sure. Our Department of Human Services, which is located at our Astor Avenue Community Center in Hanover Park, their line or their main number is 630-540-9085. However, if folks call into any of our numbers, we'll make sure to get them to the right folks to connect them up.
Okay. Supervisor Ramey, are you available now? Can you hear? He's showing unmuted, but I think he's still having some issues. So I will kind of pose the final little question here to maybe our administrator. Some of the issues and concerns that we've been hearing from Bartlett community during this critical time. I know just briefly, one of the things that we got wrong on our police and fire department call was the basketball hoops, and things were moving so fast at that time. You know, people were allowed to play tennis, one person on one side of the net, the other person on the other, and just basically shoot baskets in a general park anywhere. But I think some folks took advantage of that, and there were some groups that were gathering, and the park district elected to shut that down. So the day after, I think we mentioned that they elected to close those.
Well, what I think happened there is, people could, shoot, on their own, just kind of separated. Tennis was still okay. The USTA, United States Tennis Association, came out with a stance saying, look, don't play tennis right now. It's probably not safe. And we just saw a skyrocketing of our calls with the police department to respond to parks for people that were gathering in violation of the governor's order. So we were just spending so much time responding to those calls. We reached out to the park district and had a discussion with them about it. And we were just really pleased that Tuesday night the Park District decided to close those facilities on their own. They made the hoops not accessible and locked the tennis courts, and that was really driven by just the amount of police time that was taking to police the parks.
Yeah.
People can still use parks. They can still go to the parks. They just can't go on the playground or, have any kind of competitive sport happening, but certainly can go to the parks and have some passive recreation.
Good. Yeah, I know that early on I had requested, just because of the nature of this situation with people being fearful and a lot of businesses being empty, I had requested that the police increase their patrols. They've done that significantly. You'll see hopefully a lot more presence around the neighborhoods, especially at businesses that are shut down. And so we're going to make sure we're continuing to keep a close eye on those particular potential problems in the community. I just got a note from Supervisor Ramey. It says, "I'm unmuted, but you're not hearing me." He apologizes. We did, Supervisor Ramey, I can let you know that your assessor did send in some information regarding a few of the questions. So hopefully in a few weeks here, we will have the ability to just walk into people's offices and talk to them there. But maybe that's some false hope, but I like to be hopeful. So any other concerns or questions, Village or Hanover Township?
I would just stress that, if people have questions about Wayne Township, their website is available. The people are answering the phones there, so they can certainly get that information directly from the township.
Fantastic. And those of you who are interested, we are going to have another call with the Park District and the Library District on Monday. So if you want to share that with whoever might be interested in what the plans are there over the next few weeks, what limited services that they have, that will be happening. Do you know what time that is, Paula?
We have that scheduled for noon.
Monday at noon. Yep. So you can dial into the Village website and get connected that way as well. But with that, if Township has nothing else.
We have one person with their a hand up.
A hand up. Okay. Are you, John, do you want to go ahead and unmute them?
Sure can. They are now allowed to talk. Michelle or Michael?
Looks like he's muted.
Oops. It's not allowing me to unmute.
Okay, so we can see, Michael, if you can hear us, if you're able to send a chat question, that might work better.
Mayor, I would just take this opportunity to, first of all, thank the Village for your inviting us on the call and let residents know that whether you're in Hanover or Wayne Township, or if you're not sure, we talk to Wayne Township on a regular basis. The supervisor and I speak pretty frequently, and our services cooperate, so we'll get you to where you need to be. But in this time, if you need help with any of the human services that the township offers, please don't hesitate to reach out.
No, I really appreciate, go ahead, Paula.
I was just going to say, I just got a text from Mike Musson. That was him. He didn't mean to raise his hand. It's kind of a false comment, so we're all good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Supervisor and Mr. Barr. I really appreciate you guys' time today for some good, useful information, and hopefully just the ability to see your bright, shining faces brings some joy to people's lives. Happy Good Friday. I wish you a very blessed Easter.
Same to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right.